Before we get started, I think when we get started, the obvious place is to talk about what is the Discoverability Network. So it's located at discoverability.network. And you can access our website and the job matching platform that is available. So that's really what we're going to be talking about today, is how you can connect to businesses who are looking to hire people with a disability to meet their business and workforce needs. So our job platform is unique in that it is designed for a diverse candidates who happen to have a disability. But we also offer free training. You'll be able to access that through our website or through Eventbrite. We have weekly honest conversations we invite you to join. And finally, we do provide curated tools and information and support for not only employers, but job seekers as they navigate trying to find their ideal career. My name is Lisa Kelly. My counterpart, Sophia Dritzis, is going to walk us through how to sign up. But before we do that, I thought you might like to know how the system works. It's kind of 4 easy steps. So you create a profile. If you have an existing Magnet account, you can use the same email and password, or you can simply create a new account. And you can have the option of self-declaring as a person with a disability. We do protect that information, so it's not public. And we only share it when you're matched to an employer and you give permission for that to be shared. The second step is setting your job preferences. So when, where, and what types of jobs you're looking for. That's really important, because if you don't put those specifics in, you'll be matched to any job you're qualified for, but maybe you're not interested in, or that's in a location where you don't live. So it's very, very important to set, the hours that you want to work, and there's many options. Sophia will show us that. Where, what cities, what provinces, and what types of jobs or fields you're looking in. The system then matches you to jobs. So you don't have to actively search. The system is going to do that for you. And on the Magnet system, we have a database of over 15,000 employers who can target you specifically. That means that they'll use a targeted filter to look for people who self-identified as having a disability. The next thing you do is you review your job invitations. So the system sends you that. You can apply to the jobs you're interested in and ignore the jobs that you're not interested in. Again, I really want to emphasize we're protecting your information so your profile remains private until you decide to apply to the job and share it. Then you'll simply get notified. The employer will look at your profile, and if they're interested, they'll connect to you to set up an interview. It's pretty simple, and it's pretty simple. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us directly, and we will help you set up an account. I'll actually ask Elizabeth Novak from our team to put in her email, and we're here to offer you one-to-one support should you need it. Sophia will take us through a lot of this, but I wanted to point out a couple things on the dashboard. So the job seeker dashboard, as you can see, I self-identify as a person with a disability, and I have had an account. I think I'm one of the original users of it. So this is what the dashboard might look like. Up here is the navigation bar on the top right-hand side. You can customize it with your own picture. The bell is for notifications. And when we want a job search, we press the 9 icons here. You can also, when you select your own, you can update your profile and change your settings if you'd like. We do send you our social media feed. You'll also receive notifications on screen, as well as additional opportunities that you might wish to apply to. The diversity self-declaration is a really key feature. So your information is protected. Nobody can search Lisa Kelly Discoverability and see that I've self-identified as a person with a disability on the system. We simply use that information to match you to employers who are actively looking to hire people with disabilities because they think they add diverse perspectives and problem-solving skills that maybe, that their unique experiences allow them to have. So I encourage you to identify with all the equity deserving groups that you fit into. So Indigenous peoples, LGBTQ2SI+, members of a visible minority, persons with a disability, women, and newcomers. So you can see that I've selected person with a disability and women. You're going to complete your profile, and I'm going to really encourage you to add a photo, even if it's just a line drawing, add a background, and then make sure all the information is accurate and complete in your profile. And again, Sophia will do a wonderful job of taking us through that. The other thing I'm going to tell you, we're not talking about this today, we'll be having a session on this later, but we do offer a free personality assessment that can help you identify your skills and strengths. And you access that on your account at the top of the page. It will say, you know, complete your personality assessment. You just click on it and it will take you to that. So it's accessed through your Discoverability Network homepage, profile page. It's user-friendly. You can access it through app or through, like on your cell phone, or through the computer. It really does help you look at strengths, weaknesses, working style, to help you use those in your job search tools. In particular, it might offer you information about that you can use on your resume or in your cover letter, or even when composing answers for typical interview questions. You'll get a 7 to 8 page report. It is offered in different languages, and it will be provided to you in the language that you chose to do the test in. It's really excellent. We'll talk a little bit more about that with one of our campus ambassadors who's used that. At this point, before I go to Sophia, I'm going to introduce our 2 campus ambassadors, because as Sophia is going through, they may wish to weigh in with some comments. So on the left-hand side of the screen, I'd like to welcome Madeline Kelly. Hi, Madeline.
Hello, everyone.
Madeline is a PhD candidate in the School of Environmental Studies at Queen's University, researching with the Public Health Ontario Laboratories, Kingston. Her focus is on antimicrobial resistant bacteria in the aquatic environment. She hopes to pursue a career in science communications to educate and raise awareness on science-related topics. We're really glad you could join us, Madeline. Taylor, would you like to say hi?
Hi, everyone.
This is Taylor. Taylor is currently in the Bachelor of Behavioral Science program, and she's planning to continue her academic journey through a master's degree in autism research studies. She hopes to advocate for autistic-led research in the development of mental health supports for autistic individuals experiencing comorbid mental health disorders. So welcome to both of you. I'm going to stop sharing at this point and invite Sophia to start by showing us how the system works and how we sign up. Taylor and Maddie, if at some point you want to jump in, just feel free to. Otherwise, we have some questions for you after Sophia has finished walking us through.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sophia. Can you all hear me and see my screen? Excellent. So I'm just going to quickly show you how we first set up our account. So as Lisa mentioned, we're going to go to discoverability.network and we're going to click the job seeker button. And we're going to choose our region. And as it said in the video, if your region isn't here, you can simply click Ontario, and then we'll click Enter Now. So I'm just kind of recapping this part because one of the buttons has been recently updated. So I just want to show you what it says. So it says sign in, sign up here. So you're going to click that button at the top right. And once you click that button, you'll then be able to log in. If you have an existing Magnet account, you can enter that here, or as shown, you can click create an account and then select job seeker from the drop-down menu and simply start filling in all the required fields. So once you've completed that part, you're going to receive an email from Magnet, and you're going to need to activate your account before you can start proceeding with your profile. So this is what it's going to look like as soon as we go to our email and we click activate account. So it says, welcome to the Discoverability Network community on Magnet. And we're just going to click next here. Once we click next, it says, tell us a bit about yourself to start getting matched to opportunities. So we're going to click next. And step one is basic profile information. So based on whatever you entered when you created your account, it's going to pre-populate some of that information here. And you're going to have to fill in a couple of fields. So one is the languages spoken. So any languages that you speak, you can enter it here. Obviously, we want to make sure English is there. And then countries of work eligibility, we want to enter Canada. And then we're going to click Save and Continue. Now on this page, you're going to have to consent here. It says discoverability requires that we disclose personal information from your account as described in our privacy policy under information sharing with affiliated community partners in order for you to be affiliated with it. So we'll consent to this here. And then
Sophia, what is that information being used for when we give a consent?
So I'll just go back. I could have read further more.
That's all right. It's basically for us to share the information with the employers on the system and for you to be affiliated with our network. So, you know, feel free to read through all the notes, but just to give you an idea of why we're looking for that information.
So on the next screen here, we're going to then be asked to upload our resume or either create a profile. So you have the two options, but really what's best to do is to upload your resume just because it's the quickest process, and it's going to parse some of the information that's in your resume to other fields in the profile.
So I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to ask Taylor, did you upload your resume or did you create a profile?
I uploaded my resume.
And Madeline, what did you do?
I believe I actually created a profile.
Ah, did you find it more time onerous then?
A little bit, but for me, with other platforms, uploading resume doesn't always work as well. So I just immediately went for creating the profile. And honestly, with how much I'm getting out of the platform, it was worth the, you know, maybe 10 minutes it took to fill things in.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to click upload your resume here. And I'm going to put my resume in here. And I'm going to click Save and Continue. And now this part, it's asking me to complete a work experience or an education record to start getting matched to opportunities. It says you'll be able to add more records later. So we can do either one of these. It doesn't matter which one you do first because I'll show you how you can go back and complete the other one. So I'm just going to start with work experience. And so this got populated from my resume. And I'm going to change the position type to function and organization. And I'm going to enter what the position function is. So because I put librarian's assistant, I'm going to put that as clerical and administrative.
And Sophia, what do people do if they're not sure, or if they're not sure it's a skilled trade?
If they're not sure it's a skilled trade?
Yeah, so how do you know what your position function is? Who could you reach out to, or where could you learn that?
Yeah, so if you're in school, I mean, you could reach out to your career counselor at school, or if you are someone that uses services from an employment service provider, you could reach out to them as well. Or if you're having, if you're not sure, you can reach out to one of us, and we're more than happy to help you with the rest of the steps in creating your profile.
Thanks, Sophia.
No problem. So for position focus area, I'm going to just select one of these. It says department support and administration. And the reason why these two options populated is because I entered clerical and administrative. Had I entered a different function, there would have been different options for me to select here.
And so again, if you're not sure, reach out to us or a career counselor, or choose the one that you think is closest.
Yeah. So I'm going to click Save and Continue here. And now we are at the part of entering our job preferences. So Lisa talked about this, and your job preferences, it says, can help you control the kinds of positions you're matched to. By specifying the kinds of positions you're looking for, You'll receive invitations to apply for those opportunities that match not only your qualifications, but also your career goals. So you can first select, find your job level. So you can specify whether you're looking for entry level or junior, mid-level, senior level, manager level, and so on. So you don't have to just enter one. You can enter multiple of these if you want. You can specify whether you're looking for remote work, on-site, hybrid. You can specify the job types that you're looking for. So for example, apprenticeship, contract, internship, permanent, full-time, permanent, part-time, seasonal, temporary, volunteer. So you can choose one or some or even all of these options. And then find your job category. So again, this is just the category of work that you're specifically interested in. So I'm going to say administration, business operations, and human resources, but I can specify more than one here. And then if you're in a skilled trade, so if skilled trade is something like an electrician or a plumber or a mechanic, a hairdresser, you would enter that here. So I'm not in a skilled trade, so I'm going to leave that part blank. And then preferred locations. This is basically referring to where you're willing to commute. So let's just say I am able to commute to Mississauga. I can also say how far I'm willing to commute, and then I would click add this location. So I specified within 20 kilometers from the center of Mississauga. And I can keep on adding different locations here as well. And then just keep on saying add this location. And then the last thing it asks you is community preferences. So it says select which communities you would like to receive invitations from. And we recommend to leave it on this selection that says send me invitations directed at any community, because you want to kind of keep your options open. You don't want to just receive invitations from one community. There's many different communities on the Magnet network. So we're going to say save and continue. And now this is the diversity self-declaration that Lisa showed us. So we are going to select persons with disabilities or whatever other group you identify with, and you can click save and continue.
Now, Sophia, I see that you can choose not to declare. Why would you declare versus not?
So yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if you don't wish to declare, you can leave it like that, but we really encourage you to declare, just because there are many employers that are specifically connecting with us to recruit job seekers with disabilities. And they do that because they're looking for diverse talent. And when they do that, the posting then becomes a diversity target posting. And so what that means is it kind of becomes an exclusive opportunity, and it'll only be shared with job seekers who have self-identified in the system and obviously who match the job requirements. So that's why we recommend that, is just because you have the opportunity to be matched to additional jobs.
And I will say to everybody, as a user myself, I've never been, yes, if you come under 3 categories, definitely click on all 3. That was a question in the chat. But, you know, I receive, and we do not need medical proof to declare the type of disability. We're not looking for that. So it's if you self-identify as a person with a disability. And Sophia, what do we consider a person with a disability? So you self-identify, but what types of disabilities would that include?
It can vary. So it can be someone with a learning disability. It could be somebody who has a visual disability. It could be all sorts of things, diabetes, depression, any type of mental health.
Or addiction, also mobility, physical, developmental, they're all considered a disability. And again, it's just self-identification. You do not need medical proof.
So once we click save and continue on this stage here, we will have to consent one more time. And it's just saying, because you're affiliated with Discoverability Network and have made a diversity self-declaration, Discoverability requests that we share information about your diversity self-declaration. Discoverability Network will be able to see your diversity self-declaration status as long as you consent to share this information. Discoverability Network will be able to see if you're a match to opportunities that require you to share your diversity self-declaration as part of the application process, and will use the information to support your job search. So again, it is voluntary, and let's just say that you decide that at first when you're creating your profile, you're not ready to consent at this point to provide your self-declaration. You can go back later on at any time and add your self-declaration. So I'm going to say I consent. And now we have completed our profile here. And this is kind of just that homepage that Lisa showed in one of her screenshots. But at this point, we want to also make sure that we optimize our profile. So the way we do that is there's some icons at the top here. So this is the home button. This is our notifications. This is the apps button. And this is our profile. Once we click that profile button, go to my profile. And here we can kind of update a few things. So we can add in a background picture here by clicking this icon, the picture icon. We can add in a profile picture. So I'll quickly just show you how I would do that. I have a picture here. And then once I've done that, I'll click done, and now my picture is there. And now this is the information that has been taken from my resume. So I've got my work experience, my education, but there's a few other options here to add in information. There's certifications and licenses and skills. And these are really important because when an employer is posting a job, they will sometimes add in certifications and licenses that will be required for the role. They'll also always add in the skills that are required for a role. And these are things that you will get matched on. So it's extremely important to take the time to add these into your profile. And the way we do that is we're simply going to click edit at the top right here. And we'll scroll down, and where we get to work experience, education, certifications, and licenses, you see there's a little drop down arrow to the right of that. And if you just click that, you'll be able to type in the certification. So let's just say I wanted to add in first aid.
We need to spell it correctly.
Yeah, I'm trying to back out and it's not letting me.
Okay. And you do need to, in this section, use the correct terminology. So for instance, if you're in Ontario and you have a driver's license, if you just type in driver's license, it's not going to come up necessarily. So you do need the correct terminology. And again, if you're having a problem, reach out to us.
Yeah, so it appears as though my computer has frozen at this time. So that's okay. Lovely. Let's see if I don't know why. Give me a moment here.
Sure.
Sometimes.
So I'm going to ask if Taylor or Maddie, did either of you fill in any certifications there or licenses that you have?
Yeah, I can jump in first. For me, I don't have any very specific ones other than my driver's license, but even that I just put in because that's still a useful thing to have on your profile.
Oh, thank you for mentioning that, because yes, a lot of jobs, and we don't always put that on our resume, may require, as Sophia said, a first aid or even a smart serve. For instance, if you're going into the food industry, or driver's licenses. So put in all that you have. You really can't have too many. There's a lot here, and you'll have to put in the organization name and the date that it's granted. You can even upload a picture, I believe. Is that correct, Sophia?
Yes. So can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, so I've entered in the certification here. So I entered the date granted, and this is where you would be able to enter an image of the certification or award. So once you upload that, you just click save. and then it will be added to your
Right.
profile. And the next part is the skills. So again, this one is really, really important as well. So you're going to have this very lengthy list of skills. You can go through it if you want, but it's easier to just start typing in if you know exactly kind of what you're looking for. If I type in Microsoft Office, I can enter that. I can type in pretty much anything here. So I'm just typing in analysis.
Let's try
Illustration.
a C one. Okay.
Let's see here. So if I go into C, call center,
yes, if you've worked
camera
at one.
operations. So,
And don't limit yourself here, because these are really, you know, so you can type in, look through, maybe you'll get some ideas you can add over time, but we're really trying to capture all your skills and abilities, which you might not have included in your resume, but you still have those skills.
so let's just add in one more thing here,
Okay.
just to show you what it will look like once we've added in everything. And this last section here, qualities. Now, this isn't something that you get matched on. It's kind of like a nice to have. It's things like attention to detail, creative, customer oriented, effective communications, planning and organizing, positive attitude, things like that. You can fill this in. Once you fill that in, it just makes your profile look more complete. So if somebody is viewing your profile, they will see that you've added that there, but it's just not something that is actually matched upon. So I'm going to click
Sophia,
save.
if we went to our work experience, if we can have a look at that, not all the information is always captured. Is that correct?
Not everything. So here's my work experience. And if I click that down arrow, it's going to show me kind of some information here.
So actually, if we go up, so this individual has done babysitting, and they haven't put the employer name in because it's someone's private name. So that's why that's not in there. But if you put in the industry, the job type, great, that's, you know, better. So it might be under childcare, for instance. But, you know, you just keep looking until you find, you know, whatever is going to be social services, home care, yeah, something like that, that's similar. You should put your job duties in, because again, if it's not captured in your resume, this is a way of making sure that you're getting everything, you know, that all the skills that you actually have and that they're being put in there. So if you've done, I don't know if is cleaning one?
Cleaning and laundry.
Yeah, so if you've done some cleaning up around the house, put that in. Children and youth would be another one, because you've done some work with that. I'm not sure babysitting would be counseling, but definitely, you know, whichever of these are relevant.
Yeah.
Then job type, less important. You know, it's not really used as a searchable function, but if you want to fill that in, great. And the compensation type, don't worry about. If you don't want to put that in, don't put that in. It's not going to be used as a filter.
So then we'll click save here. And now I'm going to show you.
Now the company field, they want the.
I must have forgot something here. So I'm just going to say test. And I'm going to show you what it's going to look like now that we've added in all of these extra things. So
yeah, it starts filling out and looking a lot better. So when an employer looks at it, you can see that, you know, it's starting to look like a more fulsome view of the qualities and abilities that you have. Can you show us how we'd look, or how we find our job matches if we had any, Sophia?
So if we go to the home page and we scroll down, you can see a box here that says My Notifications. So if you have any job invites here, you'll see them here. Also underneath here, it's not showing me at this point just because I just created this account, but on the screenshot that Lisa shared, there was a box that said additional opportunities, and that's tied to your job preferences. So let's just say your job preferences based on what you entered, if you filtered out any opportunities, it'll show you that there, and it'll give you an opportunity to look at those job opportunities and then change your job preferences so that you can get those job invites as well. So that's something really important as well to always keep an eye out for. And then
right. And I see that there's a job search. Can you show us how that would work, Sophia?
Yeah, I was just going to go to that. So if I go to my profile here, or sorry, in
home,
in the apps button here, if I click jobs, I can then job search. So I can actually enter job search as well. And you'll have access to other job boards as well, such as Indeed, Canada Job Bank, and you'll be able to see all of those jobs.
So you could then apply directly, but job invites is where the system, the customized jobs that we were talking about would appear. Taylor, have you ever received any job invitations as you've used the system?
Yeah, I've actually received a few. I sort of have cast a wide net with my job preferences, as well as included a lot of my skill sets from previous work. And I get frequent notifications about potential job matches, which has been super beneficial.
And Madeline, what about you?
Yeah, so even though I'm not at the point where I'm job searching at the moment, as I approach the end of my degree, it's actually been incredibly helpful to be on the Discoverability Network and using this because I can see what jobs are out there and what I am qualified for. And I have gotten, I think, over 15 matches. So that's just been really interesting to see what's out there.
That's amazing. Okay, Sophia, anything else we should know about in here? Can we, where do we upload more resumes? I believe we can upload more than one.
We can, yeah. So so on this same page as well, job search, if you look on the left column here, you have different options that you can select. So if you select job preferences, this is where you can go and make updates to your job preferences. Any jobs that you've bookmarked will be here. You can also access your job invites over here. You can view your applications, and then here's your files. So if you want to add a file, you can add it over here. You can add a link.
Could you add LinkedIn on here under the links?
I believe so.
Yes,
yeah.
I believe you can as well. So, you know, it can be very helpful. So, you know, have some fun, utilize it. As Sophia's on here, I'm going to open it up and see if anybody on the call has any questions that they'd like to ask before we talk to our campus ambassadors and learn a little bit more about, you know, what they've done using this. Anybody with any questions? I saw that somebody had mentioned, what if an employer asks for documentation? So on our system, the majority of the employers, I'd say 100% of them, but, you know, just to, for accuracy, let's assume there may be one or two that aren't. But on our system, all the employers that are on the Discoverability Network understand that this is for job seekers with a disability. And a lot of them have undertaken training. We give regular training to employers. And employers are not entitled to ask for proof of your disability. All right. If they do, you could simply say, I have a disability, but I choose not to share what that is. If they still insist on it, you could say it's my protected human right that I do not need to share that information. Now, sometimes an employer will ask you for information in order to provide an accommodation, and that's a different thing. So they may need to know, well, if you have a lifting restriction, how much can you lift? If you need additional time or a different training methodology, what would be the most appropriate? And in that case, they can ask for a doctor to fill out a form. Still doesn't say what your disability is, but that just lists those functional limitations so that they can provide you with an accommodation, and the employer, you know, must pay for that note. So hopefully that, you know, addresses that question. No problem. I'm glad that answered that. It's a really good question, and it comes up a lot. Okay, but you are, this is a protected under the Ontario Human Rights Code. So you, and the Canadian Human Rights, so you do not need to disclose what your disability is or provide information related to the diagnosis or treatment of your disability. Okay, what's up on the screen here, Sophia?
So I just went back to the home page, and I just wanted to highlight this little carousel here. This is where you would access the personality assessment that Lisa was referring to. So you just would click Lumina assessment, and it will take you straight to the assessment. The assessment is 144 questions. You don't have to complete it all at once. And wherever you stop off, if you go back and log into your Discoverability account on another day, there will be a pop-up that will say, do you want to go back and finish it? So you just click that, and it would take you right back to where you were.
And then I believe you access your assessment through the apps page, and it'll be My Assessments.
That's right.
Yeah, piece there. So, and we'll talk about that in a moment as well. Anything else we should know about this?
The only other thing is you will see from your homepage as well, any social media tweets that have gone out from Magnet or from Discoverability Network, they'll be here as well. So you'll have access to that. And that's basically it. So that's the main information. Again, I can't stress enough the importance of optimizing your profile. So just really take the time to add in those skills and certifications. And, you know, as you acquire new skills or new licenses or certifications, just remember to always add that into your profile, because you can update your profile along the way.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you very much for that, Sophia. We're gonna go back to and invite questions, and also talk specifically to Taylor and Maddie about their experiences using the system. So I'll just start. Maddie, how long did it take you to set up your account?
So I think start to finish, you know, with the very basic of just signing up and then activating your account, but then adding in all the necessary details into my profile so that I could be best matched to appropriate jobs probably took me maybe 15-20 minutes. And
are you pretty computer savvy?
I am. Yeah. I think the longest is probably if you're doing a resume by hand, like I did it, you know, that'll take a little bit longer, but the more specific you are, the more you add, the better those jobs are going to be. And for the ones I've received, they've all been very appropriate for my education and my work experience.
So I will add, before I go to Taylor, when I first set up my account, I didn't set my job preferences, and I was getting wildly inappropriate job matches. I mean, they were just, I guess anybody, they were entry level, and I was, obviously I'm older, I've got gray hair. So they weren't things I was interested in until somebody told me, oh, set your job preferences. Don't say you're open to everything. Taylor, what about your experiences?
Mine was about the same. I did upload my resume. Where I spent a little bit more time was because I was still a student and had some more years to go in my program. I was open to some more diverse jobs. For Maddie, who's in something very specific, I feel like it was a little bit different, where I have a retail background and I worked in the service industry as well. So I was sort of open to working in my field of interest, but also open to other opportunities as well that gave me more job opportunities that were coming in, just that I could take a look at if they interested me.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, actually. And it's like any job board, when we're first trying to accumulate experience to get us matched, if we don't have that educational piece, which a lot of people look for, but not all of us have, it can be hard to get your first crack. And that actually leads to, somebody had asked in the chat if there's a higher chance, if you've applied and you're interested in a specific position, would you get an interview? In that case, I would actually reach out to the organization and ask for an informational interview. So it may not be a job interview, but you can talk to somebody in your field to learn more about it. and ask, how should I apply? Are there additional ways? Or reach out to us, because sometimes, Sophia, we do get employers who are actively recruiting and there aren't matches on the system. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And then we can direct and help you, guide you through that process. Please don't do that for every job, but just in some instances. We do have job fairs and networking events. We haven't done those in person yet since COVID, but we do them over the internet. In some cases, they've resulted in everybody on the call getting at least an informational interview. And we've actually done some hiring events with employers like the TTC, Ontario
Public Service.
Ontario Public Service.
Amazon.
Thank you. Sophia does these. Yeah. And we've also done with IBM. So a real wide variety. So you want to keep checking the feed. Do either of you, Maddie or Taylor, do you follow the feeds, or because you're not actively searching, is that of less interest right now?
I definitely followed the feeds at the beginning when I was really searching for a job. I found them helpful, and just there's a lot of information that comes through about how else you can use the Discoverability Network as well. And that was really interesting. It wasn't just a job board. There was much more to it, which I found really helpful.
Great. Okay, so that's how much time it took each of you. Maddie, I understand that you actually did the Lumina assessment. Can you tell me a bit about that and what was involved and why you even chose to do it?
Yeah, so I did the Lumina personality assessment just to gain some insight into my personality and behaviors, both to satisfy my own curiosity, but also to help me become more self-aware and understand how my behaviors and personality traits might affect job and school performance, my learning style, how I interact with colleagues. The actual assessment itself was just answering various questions about yourself with kind of the standard rating system of strongly disagree to strongly agree. So I think, for example, some of the questions were, attention to detail is a strength of mine, or I am an objective, logical person. And it probably took me around a half hour, but in my opinion, it was 100% worth taking the time to complete because I actually learned a fair bit about myself. It reinforced things I already knew, but it also pointed things out that I had maybe suspected, but wasn't 100% sure of.
Can you give me an example, or do you mind sharing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it, again, as I mentioned, it helped me reinforce parts of my personality that I already knew about. So for example, it pointed out that I'm introverted, which is obviously something I know. But what was interesting about the assessment was it framed us in a positive light, which was very refreshing, as I'm sure many introverted people here can relate to. You're often told that you're introverted as a critique. All the way from elementary school to university, it was always, you're too quiet, and it was never seen as a positive thing. So with respect to being introverted, Lumina pointed out that I have great listening skills and that people find it easy to talk to me because of that, and that I enjoy working in smaller groups. But as I said, I already knew that about myself. When it got interesting was pointing out certain traits or behaviors that I had maybe occasionally heard from colleagues or employers, but I wasn't really sure how true they were. So for me, the biggest surprise was that it pointed out I have a tendency to be too modest. Which was interesting, as I've heard that from colleagues in my field. So right now I'm in academia, and you kind of need to be your own cheerleader, especially with regards to not being shy about sharing your published work. So that gave me something totally new to work on for myself and for my current career.
Taylor, it sounds like you could use that advice as you go into your master's.
Yeah, I'm definitely figuring that out even just through the application process. So that's a good reminder for me.
Okay, great. Yeah, and it's pretty easy to use. And like I said, you can download an app. Sophia, do you know the day that we're going to be having the Lumina session?
Yeah, so that's actually coming up on November 30th from 2 to 3 p.m. as well.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good session. I've done it myself. And for me, it told me that I'm tough. That was the biggest word. And it's not a word that I really bond with. But it framed that, Madeline, like what you said, is it framed that for me as in you're able to have difficult discussions about difficult topics. And I really embrace that. I love that version of tough. And so instead of me thinking about, oh, I'm unkind or I'm, not listening to people, which is how I think of as tough, it gave me some really great ways to rethink what tough can look like in the workplace. So I really encourage all of you to complete the assessment if you're interested in that. Now, Taylor, I understand you had some success with your account. So you did get some matches. Did you get anything else?
I did. I had quite a few matches that come through, usually 2 to 3 a month, specifically because I have sort of cast that wide net. And a lot of them, I sort of just look at them like, that's interesting for my field. Maybe I'm not quite qualified for it. Maybe it's not quite of interest. But then just this past year, before the summer started, I got an interview for a specific job, and then I actually secured that job as well, which was very exciting and very refreshing from some of the other experiences I've had with the interview process and within the work environment itself. So that was really lovely.
Oh, that's great to hear. I love hearing that. And hopefully, you know, it continues, or you had, you know, the next one will be even better. So every Thursday, actually, before I go to that, Taylor, as a follow-up, do you have any advice for someone who's signing up for the first time? And then Madeline, I'll have you, you know, answer that as well.
Yeah, I think the best advice I can give is to take time on your profile. Even just the skill sets that you have, that was where I was finding positions that I hadn't even considered or thought of, because I had skill sets that maybe were outside of what I was specifically looking for. There were jobs that were coming to me. Between my skill set of being a camp counselor and in management previously, the job I got was an inclusion facilitator for a summer camp where I was developing programming for campers who had disabilities. So it was a combination of my actual program I was doing with skill sets that I had from previous work. And that's not something I was seeking out. It wasn't really within my job preferences, but it did come to me because I had the necessary skill sets for it. And that's the best thing you can do, is sort of cast that wide net, and don't worry about having a ton of job options that are coming in that you're not too interested in. It will sort of broaden your horizons too, which is really helpful with this platform.
Yeah, it sounds like an ideal job. Thank you for sharing that. Madeline, any advice for people signing up for the first time?
Yeah, so I would probably say the same thing as Taylor. I think the more time you take on it, the better. You know, you're just going to get better job matches the more thoroughly and more accurately your profile is filled out. I would also definitely put a plug in to do the Lumina assessment. You know, it's free. It's an amazing tool. Gives you really great insight into yourself, and it can help you fill in those soft skill areas of your profile that we were showing earlier, like attention to detail or organized, because it gives you those things. It tells you what your strengths are and what things you can work on.
Yeah, and I love the language it gave you around that, different ways of describing it that aren't the same as everybody else, what everybody else puts on their resume.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're both campus ambassadors, so I'm going to ask Sophia to tell us what the heck a campus ambassador is, and then I'm going to ask you about your experiences and what you've learned as a campus ambassador for Discoverability. Sophia, over to you.
All right, so basically campus ambassadors promote the Discoverability Network. They are promoting it to their friends, their classmates, and the school community. So really anyone who's unfamiliar with the platform. So they're sharing information about Discoverability Network on social media. And they're even, you know, can go above and beyond that if they choose to do so, and participate in any cross-promotional opportunities on campus. But one of the biggest components is just providing information through social media posts to their network.
So Madeline, what have you learned, or has it been valuable?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed being a campus ambassador. For one, as someone who identifies as having a disability, it's just been really interesting. I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions around what disabilities are considered disabilities. You know, as we talked about early in the webinar, we all, you know, I think tend to assume if you can't see it, there isn't one, which absolutely isn't the case. So it's been interesting to kind of clear up those misconceptions, and also really get a detailed look at what it's like to try and search for a job as someone with a disability, what kind of barriers we may face, what strategies are of breaking those down. It's all just been really informative in that aspect.
And Taylor?
Yeah, I would totally agree with Maddie. I've had sort of a long journey to discovering that I am a person who has a disability, and identifying that and understanding what that means for me. And there's so many individuals who are in the same space, or individuals who don't have the same kind of knowledge about tools like the Discoverability Network that can really change the dynamics of how they interact in the workforce. And those resources are really powerful. So, you know, something as simple as a social media post on my profile that doesn't even have a ton of followers I hear back from people how important that is and how that's information that they didn't have and how it's impacted them going forward. And there's nothing better than that, really, as an individual who's part of this community.
I love that too. You're changing the face of what this looks like. This is people with abilities, people with skills to share instead of the usual charity model. So I thank both of you for being ambassadors. I put a few upcoming events that we have in the chat, and there are links. So if you want to access those links on November 30th, we're going to talk to, I believe, Madeline, you're going to join us again on the Lumina assessment. And Taylor, maybe if you complete it, you'll join us as well. On November 3rd, tomorrow, we have a guest speaker, 2 guest speakers who are going to talk about acquired disabilities. So those are disabilities not that we're born with, but that we actually acquire later in life. So that's very common. In fact, most disabilities are acquired. And as we get older, we get more of them. On November 10th, the day before Veterans Day, Remembrance Day, we are going to be talking about how veterans can make great employees. Veterans and veterans with disabilities can make great employees. On November 17th, there's actually a session if you're interested, because as you go out into the workplace and you face or work with employers, about how they can redesign the employee experience so that it's better for everybody. And that's with Varun Chandak. And on November 24th, we have an upcoming seminar that I think is going to be amazing. It's with Matt Stossel, a researcher out of the US, and he's going to be talking about the impact of social media. And I think particularly given the negativity that's out in this space and people's mental health as we come out of this pandemic, that's a really important topic. And so we can learn a little bit about that. So we invite you all to join us, and you can just click on those links, and I will have Elizabeth send those out after the session so that you have them. I want to thank Maddie and Taylor so much for joining us. Thank you.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Thanks so much for having us.
You're both so eloquent. It's lovely to have you on. And I want to thank Sophia for an amazing demonstration.
You're welcome. Glad you enjoyed it.
It was clear. So if you have any questions, reach out to us. And again, thank you, Maddie and Taylor and Sophia.
Okay.
Have a great day. Bye.